and making sure everything goes smoothly. Rough re-entry after 4th of July weekend for me. I had a nice long weekend. Making sure as you come into the space virtually, if you would go to the, like Paul's put it in the chat, if you go to the drop-down menu and choose panelists and attendees, and then just say hi, like Kathy did. Hi, Tammy from Pennsylvania. Nice to see you. Who else is here with us today? We have a fairly large group expected for our. Hi, Roseanne from DC, and Heather, and Roseanne, Roseanne, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, and Heather, if you can go to the Taquana, if you go to the greetings, but go to the drop-down menu and be sure you adjust it to panelists and attendees. There's a reason for this, and the reason is because we use this. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Christina. Hi, Lawan. We use this. Amanda, do what I'm saying. Go to the 2 panelists and attendees. Cheryl, you too. And choose panelists and attendees instead of just panelists. Because if you do panelists, only Paul and I will be able to see what you say. And the chat is one of our main ways of engaging. So we need you to be accessible to everybody. Hi, Angela. Welcome from Eugene. Greetings, Gabriel from Bremerton, Washington. Yes, Lux Cruises. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for doing that. We're going to get started in about 20 seconds, I think. Hi, Molly. Molly, you want to go to the second item on the drop-down menu to panelists and attendees so that everybody can see that you're here. Hi, Veronica. Welcome. Hello, Kim. Kim, same thing. You want to be able to put panelists and attendees, and that's the last time well, I might say it one more time, but it's 12 o'clock. So Paul, let's go to the next slide. I'm Kathy, and I'm hosting this conversation. And it really is a conversation. It's an intro to family vitality. And basically, you all are going to tell us what family vitality means to you. We've been having a couple months of journey to vitality, thinking about our individual vitality and then looking at trauma, grief, trauma, and loss. We did a lot of that in June. And now we're moving into kind of other areas of vitality, but thinking about the whole family as the unit instead of your individual self. So I'm excited to get started on this conversation. Before we do that, 2 housekeeping things. The first one is what I was urging you all to. Hi, Jennifer from Chickasaw Nation. Greetings. Rosanna, yeah, you got it figured out. Awesome. Hi, Denise. The chat is the main way we interact on these things, and it's a short half hour. So if you put your comments to panelists and attendees, everybody will be able to see what you say. If you just put it to panelists, only I will be able to see what you say, and I'll be reading it, but some of our regulars will get frustrated because they'll be like, I can't see that. So please put your chat to panelists and attendees, and we want you to participate. If you want to say something and be heard on your voice, like it's too long what you want to say, or I kind of asked for volunteers to actually talk, the way that that works is you raise your hand, not like this, but more like this. And then Paul will unmute you, and you'll need to unmute yourself, and then you'll be able to talk. And then the last bit of housekeeping we have is just the agreements, which whenever we do anything at Be Strong Families, we do it in recognition that we co-create the safe space together. So we ask that everybody who's involved today agree to these agreements. So yes, like people are doing in the chat, if you can agree to abide by these agreements, then just write I agree or agreed in the chat. Perfect. All right, let's get started, Paul. 12:02. Our first question. What does family vitality mean to you? How can you tell if your family is healthy and strong? It's actually 2 questions. But what does family vitality mean to you? use that phrase? Is it something different than the vitality of each of the members? Is it like you take the vitality of each of the members and you add them up and average it, and that's your family vitality? Or is there something about the family unit being healthy and strong? Usually when we talk about at Be Strong Families, when we talk about individual vitality, and we're going to get to this, we have the domains of physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, environmental. We do that. And when we talk about healthy and strong families, we talk about the protective factors. We talk about parental resilience, social connections, concrete support in times of need. So Rigel, greetings Rigel, says thriving, related to relationships within the family. So the relationships within the family are strong. And Christina says, I would say as a unit, like family vitality as a unit, not just each individual. Luan says bonding. And Denise says each member of the family unit is supported in protecting and uplifting the entire unit. Nice. Tammy says, I think the family is more than the sum of its parts. To me, family vitality is when everyone is communicating openly in a healthy way, when each member feels valued and supported. I think we're coming to consensus here that it seems like there's a lot about relationships within the family and each of the people in the family feeling supported, safe, protected, uplifted, communicating well. So how can you tell if that's happening? So I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking some days, like I can be in a kind of contentious relationship with one of my sons. I can be frustrated with the way that he's behaving. And I can be, I don't know, I mean, he knows background that I'm very supportive, that I would walk through fire for him. But in the moment, is our family strong when we're in that conflict? If the conflict hasn't transitioned? Oh, we got a lot of, okay. So I can tell when the family is strong, when there isn't tension or resentments among us. See, that's what I'm asking. Is it all an absence of tension, an absence of resentment? Is that what means the family is strong? Or it's working on the next generation to help them understand that even though you may be angry at a member of the family today or at that minute, you will be stronger when the unit is stronger. And Amanda says, I think a protected family is a united family that works together and tries to be strong together. Tammy says, and when we can be there for each other, even if we don't necessarily agree with everything the other does or says. And Dana says, every member feels loved, supported, and important, where all members are growing and becoming more. Adrian says when everyone is communicating. And Rigel says, I think being able to acknowledge the conflict shows vitality. Rebecca says, showing compassion and forgiveness, conflicts are resolved and don't fester. Tammy says, I always say that we love each other forever and ever, no matter what. Yeah. Jennifer, nice. I like Jennifer bringing this up when everyone feels safe in the home. Because I know I've worked with families and I've been in situations where I think you would think that the family is strong. There's a lot of people in the family. There's like depth to the resources, but one of the members is going through stuff and maybe bringing things that are unsafe into the home. You know, maybe bringing weapons, you know, getting drunk and brandishing a gun in the home, you know, and the little children afraid and the mother afraid, right? That's a real story. That's a real scenario. And a good kid, like he's not a terrible, awful. I mean, he's doing. It's many years later, and he's doing fine. You know, he's doing well. He has a baby of his own. He's supporting his family. But Yeah. Anita says every family member feeling respected, loved, valued, and having a voice. Yeah, I feel myself pushing back because I feel myself not wanting us to idealize like a strong family. Family is only vital when we're all when it's ideal. Because I guess maybe I want my family to be strong, and there are a lot of, I mean, I think we do basically feel supported by each other and, are there for each other. But how would I say this? People are at different stages of evolution. People are at different stages of consciousness about what is okay and what's not okay. And I don't know if that makes the family not strong. Adrian says communicating means talking about the fun stuff and the difficult things that happened. And Tammy says, agreed, feeling safe is key. One can feel unsafe even if everything around them appears to be safe. Sometimes it's our own thoughts and feelings making us feel unsafe. But in a healthy family, you feel safe sharing that. And Paul says, thank you, Paul, recognizing we're not perfect in relation to each other. Taquana says, vitality is supporting one's creativity, no matter their choices. All right, so let's move to the next question. What do you do to nurture your family's vitality? Now that we have some consensus that family vitality is about communication and relationships, I'm going to throw something else in here because I just thought of it. See, I think family vitality can also be about the family being able to meet the needs of the member. I think family, like if you look at, well, and we're going to look at this in a minute, but if you look at like either the protective factors or you look at the vitality domains, if the family is able to provide for the children, if the children are, getting their nutrients, getting their nutrition, getting their baths at night, if they have some kind of structure, if they're able to focus in school, and the children have their needs met and the adults have their needs met, if there's any physical or mental or emotional health issue that the adults can get help. I think I'm not saying that a family is only high income families are vital and low income families aren't. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that I think part of family vitality goes beyond the relationships to the actual sustainability aspects of the family. And Dana says, being able to share with each other what's inside us in a respectful way. I do a mommy and me lunch with each of the girls once a month. They get to pick where we go and just talk about whatever's on their mind. Great. And then being in a loving and respectful environment. Sylvia says, and Misty says, when they do share, making sure they feel the acceptance and part of the group. And Denise says, creating gatherings where there's fun set up and time for quiet connections. This is what you guys do. I like to make at least 3 touches with each family member because it helps us feel connected and makes communicating easier and more meaningful. Nice.
Anita raised her hand.
Oh, Anita, yes.
You can unmute yourself, Anita.
We can't hear you yet, but you need to unmute yourself. Paul, can you give her some advice about how to do that?
Anita, you just need to click on the unmute button on your.
Oh, she says. Adrian says eating dinner all the time. Dana says family game and movie nights bring us closer together generally. Amanda says nurturing my children with each of their time together, making sure my kids feel loved evenly and trying to help them with whatever they're going through and just being there for a phone call whenever they need to talk and try to help them out with whatever situation they're going through. Nice. Food nurtures the soul and connection, Denise says. Luan says telephone calls, eating dinner together, and cookouts. Adrian says being able to talk about the really heavy stuff years later really helps the children process. Jennifer says, try to accept each person for who they are and where they're at as opposed to who we expect them to be. Nice. Sounds like, you know, relationships in general, like to have a healthy, positive relationship, being able to talk, being able to process things, creating time and space to do that. Deanne, you're going to want to say to panelists and attendees, but I'm going to read what you wrote, saying making an effort to have family dinners to talk about the day, challenges, successes, etc. I'm going to say that, you know, during COVID, I think I've talked on this webinar before about how my mother and my sisters and I started having a weekly phone call, a weekly, you know, FaceTime. We're all Apple people, so FaceTime. And that has brought us closer together, you know, just and more connected to each other's lives and more, you know, talk. I think there's more of a sense of nurturing the spirit of the family. And I would say like part of Be Strong Family's mission is nurturing the spirit of family, promoting well-being and preventing violence. So I think what you all are talking about is the way to nurture the spirit of the family. And Dana says, modeling. Life is not perfect or easy, but if I can show them and walk through with them how I do life, and I talk about why I make the choices I do and how I try to balance our needs with the needs of others in our lives. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it all seems to be about the feeling for everybody. Like the feeling is what's most important. The feeling of vitality. Luan says, starting the tradition of eating Sunday dinner with my children and grandson. Nice. And Tammy says, I try to make sure that if there are any arguments, each person feels heard and they don't get caught up in seeing who could be louder. I had to facilitate such conversations with my daughters a few times when we first moved in together. They hadn't lived together since they were kids. It's now been over a year since they've argued like that. They learned how to have those talks themselves. It's a whole different story of parenting adults. Yes. I feel you, Tammy. I feel you. That's why we need the grandparenting deck for cafes, you know? I miss the days when I controlled their world, LOL. Yeah. Adrienne says, I'm learning how to parent young adults and missing an older voice. What do you mean by missing an older voice? You've become the older voice and you're missing being the one that was getting the advice as opposed to the one giving. Is that kind of where you're going, Adrienne? Christina says, so listening to everyone's comments, my family needs a lot of work. I became a stay-at-home mom so I could support my family 100%, but by the time everyone gets home, it's eat, shower, and everyone goes to their rooms and I'm still alone. Oh, sorry it feels that way, Christina. And I also want to say that this is real, and I want to thank you for saying that, Christina, because I feel like a lot of families are in this position where, you know, everybody's working really hard and everybody's, you know, like come home and exhausted, like, and drop into bed and, you know, there's a lot of, yes, we need to make time to be together. And can your family be strong if with quality and not quantity? Can your family, it's a question. Can it be vital? Like part of that working, part of working really hard to make enough money to be able to support the family, to be able to buy the shoes and the food and all of that, that's really trying to get basic needs taken care of for a lot of families. And I don't want to say that they're not vital because they don't, or they're not healthy and strong because they don't, they're not able to do more of the, I don't know. Anita says, understanding each family member's values as well as their needs, having your children feel important and comfortable where they can voice their opinions. Adrienne, no grandparents, I get it. Tammy says, it's a balancing act for sure. And Adrienne says, I model asking each one a question. Now I'm working on them asking me a question. It's fascinating they can do it once, then forget. And I'm just wondering, Christina, like when you say by the time everyone gets home, it's each shower and everyone goes to their rooms, I wonder if there's some way of disrupting that. I mean, when I'm listening to what everybody's saying in terms of intentionally starting out with, a family dinner, or, the ideas that are coming out in the chat, like, just kind of carving out the time and getting the agreements from people that will spend, this amount of time on these days, just, practicing being together. Adrian says, I'm on, oh yeah, each one a question and then forget. And then there's the other thing where, like, this other part of this question, what do other members of your family do? Because I think that's important. Sometimes we think, what am I doing to keep my family strong? And a lot of us are the linchpins, if you're 100% stay-at-home mom, or you're kind of, you're the architect of the strong family. A lot of us in the chat. I'm wondering, like, what is children's responsibility? Adult children, teenage children, small children. What, maybe they don't have a responsibility because they're tiny. What is your partner or your older people, and what's that? What's that like? What do other members of your family do to keep their family strong? And Christina says, I try to do a family movie night or even a trip to the store together. It's a work in progress. I used to do that, when my child was a teenager. I used to I remember some of the best time was like teaching him to drive, because it was captive audio. It was in the car, or car trips when I would be taking kids places, like figuring out the places that the kids like to talk, and then doing more of that. Yamuna said, we started to spend time together at night to escape the Texas heat. Yes, sleep is sacrificing on my end at times. We watch movies or do puzzles into late hours of the night. They sleep in late and everyone's bucket is filled. On days I have the opportunity to sleep in or nap, I take it. And Tammy says there's nothing wrong with scheduling time on the calendar. I know several families that have to do that and it works for them. Amanda said, my kids don't stay with me, but they'll come and visit, and I'll spend time together, and just being together and laughing and joking and being a family. We work on it. We might not talk every day, but we text, we talk periodically, but I let them know I love them and they can call me anytime, and I'll push it and try to call me at 1 a.m. But I'm there and trying to figure out what you're talking about, but I'm there. That's all that matters to them. Mommy's always a phone call away. Thank you, Amanda. You want to put it to panelists and attendees, because when I was reading that, nobody else could see it. Sorry. Denise says, my husband is a chef for family meals. That can be overwhelming. So I watch for his feeling like the family servant attitude. I get it. Like, isn't that cool? Isn't that like part of being a vital family, where how people, when people are at their breaking point, when, the signs of somebody being, and you offer a little bit more grace in that period. Tammy said, when they were teens, anytime in the car was great for talking. I think they opened up even more when they didn't have to look me in the eye. I even found this to work with some clients over the years. And Kim says, my family does work together. That's a strength for me. Luan says, telephone calls, spend time together, and outings with my family at least 2 times a month. Nice. And Heather says, my oldest son will watch my youngest son so I can have some time to myself. This helps me refresh myself and reconnect with my sons. Great. Yes, and Rebecca says car rides are a great time to talk, Tammy. And Rachel says, I think that all family members, especially the older ones, have a role in keeping communication open. I feel like this is something my family needs to work on. I think we really rely on my mom to be the conduit for information. Nice self-awareness, Rachel. And I would agree with that if one person's open and talking, but everybody else is shut down, it's not really a conversation. I make that mistake, talking at people sometimes. Dana says, we sit down and talk a few times a year and talk about what's working and what isn't. We tend to all gravitate towards traditions being important to all of us. So we have seasonal bucket lists that gives us family goals to accomplish, but it's fun. Denise says she sometimes feels like an orchestra conductor. And Yamuna said, now I want to take a road trip. Yeah, the car is where some of the deepest convos take place. Adrian says, I do a lot of listening. I've learned so much from my children. I feel like that too. Okay, well, let's dive into the domains of vitality next, because we have about 10 minutes left. So when you think of the domains of vitality, this physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, environmental, social, financial, when you think of the domains of vitality, in which ones is your family really strong? Which ones is your family really strong on, and which ones need attention? And I guess, like you don't have to, full disclosure is not necessary, but it's a good question to think about for yourself, like which one, and maybe you want to think about the ones that your family's really strong on, and then give some examples. I would say that what you're talking about, a lot of what you're talking about in the chat has been mental and emotional, and to some extent social. That mental, emotional, and social seem to be really strengths in terms of the listening, in terms of the finding time to talk, in terms of the family dinners, in terms of the, family meetings, sitting down and communication, all of that stuff seems to be in the mental, emotional, and social domains. I would say in my family, environmental has been a big focus in this last year. And why I'm saying that is, I bought my new house and I have people over grilling, parties, etc. Much more now as we're getting out of COVID. My son also, one son bought a condo and the other son bought an apartment, and they've both been fixing them up, and nesting in a certain kind of way. One of the one in the apartment made a room for his daughter. She doesn't live with him full time. Tammy says it's all a work in progress, it ebbs and flows. Rebecca says financial is okay, spiritual and environmental can use some work. And Christina says my family needs help with the physical and mental. Adrian says we are no longer going to temple. It's a big deal. That's in relation to the spiritual, is that? Or Juana says mental, emotional communication is a good focus. Daily check-in, and during the pandemic, more active listening took place. And Anne said, Anne need to do panelists and attendees, but Anne said, I'll read it for everybody. Anne says, really strong spiritual vitality, pray a lot, working on emotional vitality. Is that your whole family? Or is that you, Anne? Is that your family is very spiritually vital? Yeah. We're all working on environmental right now, like Tammy says. My daughter just had a small dumpster delivered this morning, so everyone is purging. Good. My younger daughter and I are giving our rooms a little facelift. Dana says each of us has to do our list for the summer. We need to read something, ponder something, do something, and learn something before we can get on electronics. We need to schedule time or it just slips by. Heather said strength is mental, emotional, environmental, and financial. Need help on the physical. Oh, I love it. The physical came up. I love that. So what does family physical vitality look like? And how do we do that? Yamuna says purging the clutter is where it's at for me. And Amanda says, I'm working on emotional vitality. I have a caseworker that's working against me with the situation and it hurts. And I just have to pray on it and let God have it. I'm sorry, Amanda. It sounds like a very rough situation there with caseworkers that are working against you. We have a training that's called Fast Track. And one of the things that we work with a lot of, I don't know if you're in this situation or not, but we work with a lot of people in the child welfare system, parents in the child welfare system. We try to frame it like, who's the team you need to get your kids back? Who's the team you need? So it kind of helps with the power dynamic. It's like, what can you do that will assist, that will get the people to be doing what you need them to do to make it happen? So Tammy likes something Dana says, which is not surprising. Right, Dana and Tammy? Adrian says, I think it's funny that I'm purging the environment. My children are having difficulty figuring out their room. Yeah. Dana says, oh, physical. This is for the physical. Going on family bike rides. We travel a lot. We swim together. We walk together. Nice. And that probably helps the mental, emotional too, right? And the social. Tammy says here, physical is just playing inside or outside with the kids. We also follow different eating plans. I'm very low carb. Older daughter and kids are vegetarian, and younger daughter is low carb, no gluten or sugar. Amanda says, I'm trying to find the right person to get the situation going right. It's phone calls after phone calls, and the caseworker never answered the phone. It's a little frustrating, but I keep praying and hope somebody will hear my cry. Well, we're hearing you, Amanda. So I'm tempted to say, do you live in Illinois? Well, call me. You can email me after this, and I'll see if Be Strong has any resources that could help you. Anita says, physical vitality means up and moving, getting some exercise in your daily routine. You said we roller skate, walk, just move our bodies as much as possible. The kids are spending much of their summer at the water park. I was spending too much of my day indoors with work. I know, right? I'm resenting it. Like that I'm on my butt all day long when I'm working. Jennifer says we're all working on the physical, more exercise, seeing a nutritionist as a family and eating together. Wow, that's very cool. Seeing a nutritionist as a family, that's pretty awesome. Going camping, Cheryl, people can't see Cheryl, but Cheryl is going camping, hiking, family time outside. Denise says systems are hard to work through, even harder than some family members. Yep, I agree. And Adrian says, Amanda, I've been where you are briefly. Stay open to all ideas, grow, use this as an opportunity to learn more. Thank you, Adrian. And Heather says, I like what you said, Jennifer. I'll look into seeing a nutritionist as a family. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. Anne has her hand raised. And Paul's unmuting you. You can unmute yourself. It's going to be our last comment.
You have to click on the unmute button.
There you
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
yeah? Did you want to say something?
Oh, no, I'm listening.
Okay, you have your hand raised. That's all.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, no problem. Dana says, I bought an outdoor movie projector and turning our backyard into a drive-in once a week. It's been a great together project. So nice. And Adrian, I'm trying to find ways to exercise more. And Tammy wishes she could be there for the outdoor movie nights. We have to get you here, Tammy. We just definitely do. I was thinking, I also bought some inexpensive lawn games like pickleball and badminton and volleyball, all pretty much use the same net. And then we have croquet and we had this cross toss thing. And that's fun. I mean, it's fun and it's exercise, it's active. Yes, Dan says, anytime you're in Chicago, I have bocce ball. Yep, bocce ball. All right, well, thank you all for coming. We're out of time for today, but let me tell you what's on the docket. This week is a short week for Be Strong Families because there is a staff retreat we're doing with the organizational advancement team, and that's July 8th and 9th. So tomorrow, Tunja will be on and focusing on family vitality, keeping calm and carrying on. So join Tunja and me tomorrow. And then we're off on Thursday and Friday. We'll be working, but just nobody's doing the webinar because we all are going to be together. And it's very exciting because for the first time since COVID, like the whole organizational advancement team is going to be together, and people are going to meet each other that have never met each other in person. They've been working for Be Strong for 9 months or 10 months and only virtually. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And then next week, and we're going to talk about, we're moving into parents of teens. We're moving into parents of teens cafes. We have a new deck, or not brand new, but it's a deck for parents of teens. And we're going to be focusing on questions from those decks, from that deck. So we hope you will join us next week and tomorrow. And thank you for coming today, everyone. Be well and vital and totally welcome, Christine. Yes, thank you, everybody. You make it happen. I really appreciate all the conversation in the chat. It was really fabulous. Thank you very much for sharing. And everybody enjoy the rest of their day. Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Paul, do you have some last words?
That's it. Thanks, everybody. We have the poll up. It looks like everyone's who's still here is taking it, so we're going to be closing it up shortly. BeStrongFamilies.org is where you'll see more information, including links to register for these events and for our decks.
Thank you, Paul.
All right.
Here.
Just going to give it a couple more seconds if you haven't taken the poll. That looks like everyone's taken the poll. Thank you. Post that link in there one more time. The link for the registration and our events. The slides are in there. All right, we're gonna be closing up, everybody. Thanks again, and we will see you tomorrow.